Hey, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein, and today we're going to talk about how to transfer your business into your new LLC. So if you already have a pre-existing business as a sole proprietorship or a partnership, and you decide to form an LLC or a corporation, you're going to need to get that business into that LLC or corporation. So how do you actually do that? The first thing you're going to do, which is fairly obvious, is transfer the assets themselves that have an actual title to them. Now, it's obvious if you have physical property, if you have cars, things that actually have a title, you're going to need to retitle them in the name of the LLC. But there are also intellectual property assets that you need to transfer into the LLC. And what I'm talking about are things that don't have a physicality to them. So trademarks and patents, they have to be transferred at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. You have to file an assignment and pay them some money and all that to record that assignment. That has to be done or doesn't get transferred. Copyrights. Copyrights, which are existing even if you register the copyright over any creative works, such as the copy on your website, such as ebooks you've written, all that stuff. If you're going to transfer that into the LLC or corporation, it has to be done in a signed writing. Doesn't have to be filed anywhere necessarily, but you have to have something in writing that you sign. A side note, sometimes you don't actually want to do this. I've had some clients, especially artists, where they keep the copyrights and some of the other intellectual property rights themselves, and they just license them to their LLC or corporation. This is a little bit beyond the scope of this particular video, but I did want you to be aware that you don't have to transfer the assets. You can license them, but that has to be a strategic decision that you're going to do. You at least need to consider what you're going to do with your intellectual property assets. The second aspect of this is to have a written contract between you, the sole proprietorship, or you and your business partners, with the new LLC or corporation, selling them the business, just like if you were selling it to a stranger. So typically what we do is we sell the assets to the LLC or corporation in return for them taking over the liabilities of the business, the accounts payable, the contracts, any debts, etc. And also in return for getting membership shares or stock in that new business. So it's not like anyone's getting paid in cash necessarily. Typically what happens is a cashless transaction. It's assets in returns for liability and ownership in the business. Occasionally we don't set it up exactly that way. Occasionally the new business isn't taking over all the debts. You know, there are more complexities that can happen in very particular situations, but generally speaking, you're going to have it that way. And also you definitely need a written agreement for this. It is true that you as the sole proprietor, for example, are going to sign both sides of the agreement. You're going to sign as Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein, the sole proprietor of this DBA, as well as Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein, president of EPW Small Business Law PC. That seems weird, but those formalities are the things that show that you've transferred everything in the business, and then the new LLC is taking over all the liabilities and debts. The third thing you need to do is the practicality of switching over all the accounts. There are many places where your name is on this business and you have to switch them all over. If you have a DBA, sometimes you can actually just change the owner. Sometimes you have to abandon it and then file a new DBA, but you need to make sure the DBA is switched over. You need to make sure that your business licenses are switched over, your permits are switched over. You need to make sure your website ownership, your domain names, your social media. Social media can be more complicated because you might keep your personal social media, but you want the business social media switched over. The LLC or corporation has to have its own bank account. I've never seen it where you've actually been able to switch a sole proprietorship bank account into an LLC. The banks usually want you, if not always, want you to set up a new bank account for the LLC or corporation. However, I have seen people be able to just switch their business PayPal as a sole proprietor to the business PayPal owned by the LLC or corporation. You're going to set up new merchant accounts or switch them over. It depends on what your merchant account is. You're going to get a new credit card for your LLC or corporation. You almost always need a credit card of some kind for your subscriptions and things like that. So you might have to co-sign it because your new LLC or corporation doesn't have a credit rating yet. It just depends on what you're getting. In a perfect world, every contract that you've signed as a sole proprietor or a partnership you could re-sign that as a new contract as the LLC or corporation. I say in a perfect world because, if you signed a lease for your office and it's a 5-year or 10-year or whatever lease, the landlord may not be cool with you signing a new one. The LLC or corporation has no credit rating. They're probably not going to be into that. Either they'll have you re-sign it and you have to co-sign for it, or they won't let you do it all, or they'll make the fees, your rent be sky high. So sometimes it will take a while before you can switch everything over because you have to let those contracts expire and sign new ones when they come up. You also are going to need to switch over to new bookkeeping. So typically what I have clients do if they're forming a new LLC or corporation for a pre-existing business is we pick a day, January 1st, July 1st, whatever it is, to switch over the bookkeeping when that business now officially exists, and we're going to have it run everything. So that's the kind of date or the closing of the contract. That's the date the new bookkeeping starts. You want to have everything set up ahead of time so it's ready to go on that day. And then you close out the books for the sole proprietorship or partnership, and it was liable for everything up to that day, including taxes. And then after that, the new business takes over and you switch over to the new bookkeeping. It can be a little bit messy around that date because it takes time to close out all those accounts and have them switch over to everything else. But from a perspective of your bookkeeping, you are going to pick a day to switch everything over. Again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts Weinstein. If you have any questions about converting your sole proprietorship or partnership to an LLC or corporation, go ahead and ask them below in the comments and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Subscribe if you like more tips like these, and hit the join button if you'd like to learn how to support this channel so I can make more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.